Welcome to the Tenaroo Foundations webinar series. This session covers managing facility bookings in the user interface. In this session, I will cover user account permissions to book facilities, adding and managing reservations, and processing cancellations and convenience fees. And I'm going to start with the basics of accessing user accounts as an admin and granting permissions to book facilities. I talked in more depth about the basics of user accounts in Tentaroo, including password reset processes and best practices for creating accounts in the User Accounts and Registering for Events webinar. In this webinar, I am focusing on the elements of the user account that pertain specifically to the Facilities module. One of the most powerful tools in Tentaroo is the Select Client tool. This lets you access all of your user accounts in several different ways. I demonstrated all of the features in this tool in the Summer Camp Check-in series, but today I am going to focus on the three elements that pertain to the Facilities module: the Groups list, Trips, and Reservations. The Groups listing is the full list of all groups in your system, both unit and family. And this allows you to see what the user sees so you can answer questions and help users directly. You can search this list for any account, or you can use the white plus sign here to start a new one. This is how you will access accounts when you need to add new bookings for a user. When you're looking to manage existing bookings, the other two facilities tabs will come in very handy. On the Trips tab, we select our location, Camp Tentaroo, from the drop-down, and then the year defaults to the current year, but you can also change this to look for trips in the future or in the past. The trips list will show you which groups will be in camp and when, and this list is also searchable with the magnifying glass. Each trip listed shows us the group, relevant dates, amounts due, or the total amount and the balance due. Clicking on a trip opens it in that group so you can pull the itinerary or make changes to the reservation, like adding a payment. Going back to the Select Client tool, the Reservations tab is very similar. You'll first set the location and the year, and then this also has an additional filter for changing to a specific facility type. This list is also searchable with the magnifying glass. Each of these lines will show the facility being booked, the group, the dates, the amount for the reservation, and the total and the balance due. As with the trips lookup, these are interactive, so clicking on a card here will open the trip in the group's account. Now that we have a group selected, I'm going to change to the group's settings and their profile, and let's talk about granting the group permission to book online. Each group can be allowed to book facilities independently or not as the council sees fit. Without permission to book, the group can check availability, but they cannot start a trip. And they will see a warning message that their account does not have permission to book, that they need to contact the council for permission. This setting allows the council to restrict which groups can book facilities. All new unit accounts are allowed to book automatically. Other types of accounts, like family accounts or nonprofit accounts, require an admin to grant their account permission to book, and this allows you to confirm that they meet your council's criteria and that they agree to your rules regarding care and use of your facilities. Some councils will create a form in the form builder to allow users to request permission to book, and they can also provide you the information you need, such as proof of training or insurance. You can disable allow facility reservations at any time if a group has abused their privileges or broken their agreements with the council, such as not paying for previous trips. Click on the Allow Facility Reservations toggle to change this permission and then save. So we'll grant this group permission to book online. And now that our group has permission to book, let's move into the Facilities module. I'll select the facilities from the client menu on the left, and this will bring me to a list of available locations. Uh, these are all the locations set up in your system that have facilities set up and available to book online. The other section here is My Trips, and this will show you any upcoming trips for this account. If the group has no upcoming trips, this section will be empty. Let's go back to available locations and click on a location to view availability and start booking. Now, a quick note, if you have a trip that you're trying to find that's in the past, the way you'll find that is by coming to this location, and then you see that there are current trips listed, and then there's also a toggle for past. So if the group has any past trips, those will be shown here, so you can go in, or they can go in and make additional payments, for example, or if you need to make adjustments to a past trip, this is a way to find them. All right, now the first thing we're going to do is check availability. In the user interface, you and your users can check availability by clicking the Check Dates button or by scrolling down, and this gives you a listing of all available facilities. The top of this section shows your facility types. And if you have more facility types than show in this brief view, you can scroll sideways and view all of the facility types. With the facility type selected, you can then scroll down and see facility cards. And each of these cards will give you basic information on the facility, such as the pricing rules and the first photo on the facility. And it will also show a calendar view of available dates. Anything that is green is available, and anything that is gray is not available. If you have a day that's split between green and gray, that means that it is available on the green side. For example, it's available for checkout, but not check-in. This calendar grid shows 3 months at a time, starting with the current month. To view availability farther out into the future, you can scroll back to the top of the check dates section and change the starting month. So on this, we can pick a date into the future, and now the 3-month view is going to start in the month I selected, and then you can see that it goes out further. Now, this view is called the grid view, where you're seeing the full calendar at a time. We offer another view called compact view that you can use this button here with the 4 short lines together to switch to compact view. What compact view does for you is it takes all of the facilities under each category and it puts them together into a long timeline view. And then as you scroll through the 3-month view, all of your facilities will scroll together so you can check down all of those facilities to see what's available. So we can see under campsites, we've got all the campsites and they move together through those 3 months. This same availabilities calendar is shown in the admin interface. So you can check these dates also from the admin side without selecting a group first. Now, from either the grid view or the compact view, we can click on a facility to view more details and look at all available pictures. All of this helps groups when they are deciding when and what to book at your location. And now that we have checked availability for our facilities, we can start the booking process. And this is done in 2 layers. The first layer is starting a trip, which sets the overall date range that the group is coming to this location. A trip serves to bundle your reservations together, so it's easier to bill for everything the group is using all at once. And then the trip also makes it easier for you to see the big picture perspective of everything the group plans to do during their stay. Users will enter a description of their trip. So if this is a fall advancement weekend, we can enter that into the trip name and set our dates. And then the group will also enter the head count for the number of people that they are bringing. Okay, and then they will add the contact information, and this helps you understand who is coming, who's responsible for this group. And there's also copy from profile if it's the same person as the primary contact. Then you have an additional contact slot here, as well as notes fields so that the group can enter more information about their stay. The admin notes field is admin only, both for entering and viewing data. So this won't be shown to your end users. All of this information is used as a basis for the next layer, reservations, which are the specific facilities the group will be using during their stay. And then a trip is not complete without at least one reservation. So let's click the Add Reservation button to launch the Facility Reservation Wizard. This wizard is a step-by-step process for booking facilities and is completed with each facility added to a trip. Step 1 is choosing the facility, and I am going to start with my facility type of campsites and book the Eagle campsite. That brings me to step 2, details of the reservation. And here you can see the details of the facility again, the rules for booking, the pictures, and then at the bottom, you will see the dates of your trip. And this orange says, of course, that it's available because I checked my dates first. And then at the bottom, we also have where you can define which dates in your trip this facility is going to be in use and how many people are going to be using it. As administrators, we also have an override button. So you see the price that they're currently being billed is $150. We can use the override button to change what the price is for this group. This is not something your users have access to. This is an admin only function. So if we wanted to charge $4 per person for this group, we could make that change and it will automatically adjust that rate. Then we click Next to get to the confirmation step, which shows a summary of the facility being booked at this time, as well as options for how much payment to be added to the cart. Pay minimum required amount for admins is always going to be 0, no matter what you're purchasing in the system. This allows you to add this facility booking to the system without making payment at this time, and then you can have the group come in and make payment later. Your groups, however, will always be required to pay your amounts due up front. So their pay minimum required amount will be whatever your system says they have to pay up front. Then, of course, there's pay full amount, where you could pay the whole bill, or pay other amount, which can be anywhere between pay the minimum required amount and the full amount. So right now, the system is putting the default minimum required amount in the cart for us, which is for this one, $75. As an administrator, I could change that, but I'm going to go ahead and put it through today with the $75 that this group owes. So we'll click complete to add that change to the cart. And then you can continue adding reservations to a trip, or you can proceed to the checkout if that's all that they're booking at this time. I am going to add one more reservation to this trip, and I am going to go over to our campsite add-ons and book a bundle of firewood. Now, I showed you how to set this up in the Building and Managing Facilities webinar, since this is an add-on and not a traditional facility. So I'm going to book one of those, add that to the cart, and now our total is $85. All right, now checkout is the final step. This is nothing is finalized until you check out of the shopping cart. And this even applies if no payment is in the cart at this time, or if no payment is due at this time. The changes still need to be finalized through the checkout process. The facility reservations will be confirmed upon submitting the order. So I'm going to come down and put this through. And now our trip has been added and those facilities are secure. They will not be available for anyone else to book on this weekend. Now, when you need to manage existing trips and reservations, the first thing you'll do is bring up the trip in the group's account. You can do that through the Select Client tool. We already have it brought up, so I'm going to continue with this group. So I'm going to go back into the Fall Advancement Weekend, and now we have the trip summary screen. Here we have buttons to add reservations to this trip, and then the Manage Trip button will bring us back into the trip to change any details there. Next, we have the financial summary section. This shows the balance due and payment options, just like we saw in the confirmation step of the wizard. You can also click this caret next to balance or this arrow next to balance, and this will show you details of what's included in this for payments. This will show you what's included here for amounts due on this trip. Then as we scroll down to the reservations section, we have a reports button, and this reports button has the trip itinerary in it. You or your users can download the trip itinerary for this group from the trip, and I have gone through the details of how to read the trip itinerary in the previous webinar, so I'm not going to go through that at this time. And that was the Building and Managing Facilities webinar. Last, we have summary cards for each of the reservations in this trip. Admins can add or edit reservations in a trip at any time, even after the trip is over. So you can book facilities used while they were at camp that they didn't originally reserve, as well as processing cancellations and convenience fees, which I will talk about in just a little bit. Other changes, like adjusting dates or head counts, are done in both trips and reservations. So let's start with changing some dates. My group now needs to change the weekend that they are coming to camp. They originally booked for a weekend in November, but now can't come until early December. So to do this, we will adjust the trip dates first, since the reservation dates must always be within the trip dates. The easiest way to make this change is to extend the trip to include both the original dates and the new dates. This works as long as the old and new dates are within 90 days of each other and that you are an admin. Admins can extend a trip for up to 90 days, but your end users can only do a trip that's 10 days long. So you must be logged in as an admin in order to do this. The group really can't. So let's click Manage Trip to make our changes. So first, we're going to extend our trip to encompass both date ranges. So our original trip was November 8th through November 10th. And our new dates are going to be December 6th through 8th. So I'm going to change my departure date to December 8th. I'm going to leave the arrival date as it is for the moment. Let's save that change. And now we are going to go back into the reservations and change our dates there. So I'm going to start with the firewood bundle and we'll click on Manage and Edit. And then here you can see our date range here, and the gray dates here are another trip. We can't book for that weekend right now. So we're going to change our start date to one of the dates within our new range. So I'll put this on Saturday. So now that booking is done, and we'll click Next and Complete. That adds that change to the cart. And then we'll do the same on the Eagle campsite. Manage and Edit. And then on this one, we want it to be the full weekend, so we're going to change it to Friday the 6th. And you'll notice here that when I change my start date on this to Friday the 6th, the end date will automatically adjust. So I only have to change one date. So we'll click Next and Complete to add that change to the cart. So now that was all of our facilities. Now I need to check out to finalize the adjustments to the reservations. I'm not going to send them a receipt right now. So place that order. And now we'll go back into the fall advancement weekend. And our last step here is to adjust the trip dates. So we need now change the arrival date to December 6th. Save. And this rescheduling is now complete. Now, this works, like I said, for changes that occur within 90 days of each other, which will probably be the vast majority of the date changes that you are seeing. But what about changes that are more than 90 days apart? Let's say they were coming in January and now they need to come in April. That's more than 90 days away, so this process won't work. For these kinds of changes, um, for the for new dates more than 90 days away from the original trip, the reservations need to be removed first, then you can change the trip dates. So let's start by bringing up our details. I'm going to be having to clear these reservations out completely. So I want to make sure I have record of what they booked and how much they paid, all of that brought up in a way that I can refer back to. So I'm going to generate that trip itinerary for this group and open that in a new tab so I can refer back to what they had going on. So now I need to remove the reservations. I'll click on a facility, and then under the Manage button, I'm going to use Cancel Reservation. So we'll confirm that cancellation and add it to the cart, and then do that again on the second facility that we had booked. So we'll confirm that cancellation and add it to the cart. And now I need to check out. At this point, the group has paid $85. And I am going to be unapplying this temporarily from the reservations so that we can move those trip dates. So what I want to do here is I'm going to use the add credit to account option to load this as credit available for just a little bit. So we're going to make note of this. And these notes need to be whatever makes sense for your council so that you can track what happened and who did it. It's like I could further add my initials. And now we're going to go back into the Fall Advancement weekend trip, which currently has no reservations. And now that this trip is free from any dates in reservations, I can adjust those dates to whatever I need. So this was a December trip now. I'm going to go ahead and bump that to March. And my group wants to come the first full weekend in March. Okay, so we'll get that set to March 7th through 9th. Their people haven't changed, so I can just save what I have done here. And now we need to rebuild those reservations. So let's go back to my trip itinerary as just a reminder of what I have booked and how much they were charged. So you remember I overrode how much they were paying for their campsite. So this is a really good way to remember any sort of complex changes that you have made to this. So let's add that campsite back. And we'll have that be for the full weekend. Override our rate to what I had set previously. And we'll go ahead and add that to the cart. And then we'll add another reservation, go to campsite add-ons and book some firewood. And that looks good to me. So we'll add that to the cart as well. And this has been adding the minimum due up front the whole time. So it's still at $85. Check back. Yep, that's how much they paid. Now, when we go to the checkout, we have the option to use credit. We're going to leave this on. The group has to use their credit, but we have the option not to. We'll leave that on and apply that credit back to this facility reservation. And add a note. All right, now that we place this order, that's going to complete the process of booking this in March instead of in December. All right, so that was changing dates for a trip. Now let's talk about changes to a number of spots. When the number of spots changes for the group, there are two methods for making changes depending on whether the group is increasing or decreasing their head counts. Increasing spots is done in the trip first and then to reservations, since the reservations can't have more youth and adults than the trip. So to do this, we're going to click on Manage Trip and then increase the spots and save. Next, we need to adjust any facilities that the people in the group are using. So I'm not going to mess with my firewood because it doesn't really matter, but I am going to adjust the campsite for how many people are going to be using it. So we click on the campsite and then Manage and Edit. And then here we have our head counts, and it'll show you how many people are in the trip. So we can increase to match the numbers in the trip. And we can click Next and Complete to add this change to the system. And at this point, my campsite is based on a number of spots for price. So some money is now due at this time. So you decide how much payment needs to be added to the cart and then click Complete. And then we want to check out to finalize the changes. So this group has made an additional payment. We'll go ahead and process that. And now our increases to spots are finished. Decreasing spots is a similar process, only in reverse. So we'll change the reservations first, and then we change the trip. So let's go back into our fall advancement weekend, and we need to edit the reservation to decrease spots first. Any of the reservations that are using the full head count will need to be decreased first. So we'll manage and edit, decrease our spots, and click Next, Complete. And then you would do this on any other reservations that need to be reduced first, and then we have to check out. So at this point, reducing a number of people might create credit, but I will talk about that in just a little bit. We're not going to talk about credit created right now. Okay, once we have placed our order, then we can go back into the trip and change the numbers on the trip itself. So we'll click Manage Trip, reduce our spots, and click Save. Other changes to the trip, such as changing the name, updating contact info, or adding notes, can be done at any time and won't affect the reservations. You just save your changes, and then you'll come back to the trip summary screen. As you may have noticed, changes to just the trip don't need to go through the cart the way changes to reservations do. Because of that, any reductions to headcounts or the date range for reservations have to be finalized before we can make the corresponding trip change. All right, our next topic is cancellations and convenience fees. But before I get to talking about that, there is one foundational topic that sets the stage for it, and that's available credit. I'll be talking more about how credit works in the payments and credit webinar, but since cancellations often create credit, I am going to give a brief overview of that before we continue. I'd like to start with a unit that is paid for um, that is paid for their reservations and now needs to cancel it. So this Eagle campsite, they have paid for a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and show canceling that one. As you can see, this is now showing me that this change is creating credit. So the question is, what is this credit and how does it work? The important thing to understand about credit for today is that cancellations will create generic credit that lives outside of any event or trip in the system. One way to manage that credit is to soak it up with a convenience fee under the trip, and I will cover this in just a moment. Some other options, which I will cover in the payments and credit webinar, are to refund it right away or to leave it as credit on file if you don't mind that it could be applied to any event or trip. What I mean by this is if generic credit is on file in the group's Tentaroo account, it will automatically be used first for new purchases. The system will transfer the credit from the generic credit bucket to whatever they are paying for before they have to make a new payment. Now, I mentioned convenience fees as a way to use credit. Convenience fees are any fees the council collects when a group cancels some portion of their reservations. These fees should be defined in your cancellation and refund policies, and they serve to recoup lost opportunity costs, as well as to encourage groups to commit to a planned trip. Before we can add a convenience fee to a trip, we first need to build the convenience fee structure. So now let's go do that in Camp Tentaroo. For this, I am going to use the hamburger menu to navigate to the admin facilities section. And we select Camp Tentaroo, and we're going to start by adding a new facility type. Our new facility type is going to be admin fees, and this allows us to add multiple things under this umbrella. So admin fees, and then show as doesn't really matter because I'm going to be the one adding this to the group. They won't see this. Then we do want to turn allow overlapping groups on, so I can add this as often as I need to any group that needs it. And that's really all we need to worry about. So we'll click create and add that. Oh, actually, there is one more thing I wanted to change there. I'm sorry. Let's go back into admin fees. And then I'm going to turn off next day booking and make sure my start and end times are before and after. Yep. All right, that's good. And now we have our admin fees facility type. So let's switch over to facilities. Under facilities, I'm going to add a new facility under the admin fees facility type category. And this one is going to be titled whatever makes sense for your specific facility convenience fee. So I'm going to make mine just a generic convenience fee. But if you have specific uses for this, like no-show fee or whatever the case may be, you can add that name here. With this facility added, I just need to adjust a few settings. This doesn't need to be flashy because it's for admin use only. So what I want to do here is go down to the booking settings, and I'm going to disable online booking, hide facility. That makes this admin only, so no one else can see it or book it themselves. This will go through the office. And then With your facility type of admin fees, if all facilities under that facility type are admin only, like this, the facility type category is hidden from the end users. So they won't see that before they get to their campsites. Now I'm going to change my max number of days to 1, so I can just add this for 1 day, 1 fee, and I can override it to whatever I want, and we'll turn require entire weekend off. Then under the pricing card, I want to set my GL account, and I want to keep this on the Camp Tentaroo GL account that I have set up for year-round camping. So we'll assign that. And then how you handle the fees set up in the facility is up to you. I'm going to leave it blank because then I can set the fee for every group that's being uh, billed a convenience fee because it's going to be different depending on their situation. However, if you have a normal fee that you assess for every cancellation, you can set that here and it will automatically populate like normal when you add this to a group, and then you can manage it, override it to something else if you need. All right, so I am going to go ahead and save that change. And now our admin fee for convenience fee is right here with the admin A. And then if you have other types of fees, you can set up as many use-specific fees as you need with purpose-specific names to communicate with your groups the reasons that you are retaining their money. And now that our convenience fee is built, let's go look at how to assess this on a group that's canceling their trip. Excuse me. So I'm going to switch back to the user side and my trips, and we'll go into this fall advancement weekend that the groups canceled it, moved it aside twice, and now they're canceling it. So the first thing we're going to do is add our admin fee. We'll go ahead and get that in first. It doesn't have to be first, but that's just how I'm going to do it today. So we're going to add our admin fees convenience fee. And then for this group, I am going to be charging a $50 cancellation fee. So we're going to set one per day rate of $50. Save changes and complete the wizard to add that to the cart. All right, and then I'm not going to check out just yet because I still want to go through and cancel the facilities that they booked. So in today's example, I want to cancel the entire trip. So I'll be removing all of the reservations except for that convenience fee that we just added. So let's go to our firewood bundle, manage and cancel, confirm, and then I'll add that to the cart. And now on the Eagle campsite, we'll do the same, manage, cancel, add it to the cart. And so now the cancellations and the convenience fee are in the cart at the same time. So I am actually going to, all right, so let's just finish that. And I am going to apply the credit to the balance. So this is showing me negative 55 because they had already paid 105. I only need 50 of that for my convenience fee. So this negative 55 tells me that I am still dealing with credit. There is some credit that is being created from this cancellation.
Annika, can you expand out that balance section real quick?
Sure.
Because you just mentioned that they paid 105, so I just wanted to see that here. So yeah, I see what
Yeah.
you mean, that they paid 105.
Mhm.
So the minimum here would be to pay 100, would be to add the credit to account of negative 105, but that would leave the admin fee as unpaid. So what
Right.
we really want to do is make sure that we're kind of paid in full, and the paid in full option is the negative 55, so they'll have 55 left over to pay for something else. And as Annika mentioned earlier, that 55 could be refunded or it could be applied to one of their other events or trips.
That's right. And we will cover issuing refunds and dealing with credit on file in the payments and credit webinar. So what I'm going to do today is when I go to the checkout, we can see again that we have the trip update that we've got a $55 credit that we're handling. I'm going to pop down here to the payment method section. I'm just going to add the credit to the account, and then we'll talk about the refunds next time. All right, so I'm Not going to send a receipt, and I'm going to make a note canceling uh, trip with a $50 convenience fee. And now I can place the order. And this finalizes the cancellation of the reservations. Now, since we applied a convenience fee to our fall advancement weekend trip, I can't delete my trip. The trip has to stay there because it's still holding a reservation. So, in cases like this, you may find it helpful to manage the trip and add something to the title like canceled as a reference point when you see that trip on your reports going forward. Otherwise, if you're not applying a convenience fee and you're canceling all of the reservations, you can now delete the trip. So I'll go ahead and save these changes to add canceled to the title. So now I'm not thinking that there's something going on here. I know that this was all canceled and there's just a convenience fee holding it. All right. So that's it. This webinar was all about the user interface for facilities, from granting user accounts permission to book online to creating and managing reservations and canceling them. If you have questions about using any of the features I showed you today, please send us an email to support@tentaroo.com or schedule a training at admin.tentaroo.com/training.